That's great. So yeah, what I want to just kind of give you all today is a sense of what is the immersive web? Where are we at with this technology? And then give you a couple examples of what that looks like now. And then I want to tell you a little bit more about Hubs. I know you've already been working with Hubs for a little bit, but I hope to give you some more context around sort of how people are really using it. So real life use cases. And I hope this will inspire you to sort of think about your own, in your own world, like where might this be useful for you or for people you know. Great, so immersive web. So for me, this is anything that just lives in a web page and it's just the web. We have some terminology around this. We have AR, VR, mixed reality, and there's the umbrella term of XR, where all this stuff kind of goes under. Is everybody here like familiar with AR, VR, and mixed reality? These terms, have we all heard them before? Yeah, okay. Vincent says knows what VR is, and VR, yeah. All right, so maybe we're less clear about mixed reality, it's my sense. Cool, and we're also VR. Great, so I have some examples. So these are web-specific examples. So we have other examples of this, but these are ones that just live in a website. So it's not an application you download. It's just something you can go to a web page. It uses web standards, which means like standards that all browsers, can use to make the experience consistent across all devices, all browsers, right? So let me jump into an AR example. So AR is just where we overlay some information into the real world. And this is a project I worked on. It was a fundraiser where we had, it was like Vincent van Gogh themed. So we had tags on all the menus it was a dinner. And if you had the tag, you could use the QR code to go to the website. So you're not downloading anything, you're just going to a website with your phone or your webcam. And then that tag is the position of a 3D object that you can maneuver and move around in space. So yeah, and this is an open source library, so it's free to use. And you can think of a bunch of different ways to maybe use this, but really fun to do. I don't know if it was like a huge selling point of the fundraiser, but it was kind of a nice novelty item that we added, that people got to play with.
I love the sort of web AR option. We've done that many times with an app, but then like the obstacle is you have to download the app to your phone, or you have to get people to download the app to your phone. But that kind of thing is really good for like business cards. I have my own business card that plays the intro for Animation Nights New York, but it's just something to think about if you have, if you're building things in worlds and you have this business card, and then you also, have a QR code that, instead of having an application, utilizes this web AR tool. Really cool.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Because nobody wants to download that like an app just to see something. Yeah. I've seen other examples of this, like a brand. They had like almond milk. And then if you passed over the almond milk, it would show you like how they got the almonds from the farm, and who was making the milk, and kind of giving you background around. And I thought that was a really cool use too. But
really extend people's time at the grocery store.
yeah. So I don't know where all this stuff is going to land like practically for us. But this next one, I think, has a lot of potential, and that's pass-through AR. So like, it's the same concept. We're overlaying information into our world. But this, I think, has more potential to me. And this is I'm using a Quest 2. So there's no color in the pass-through. That's a feed from the cameras on the device. And the concept here that I was working on is, can we get a recipe blog? Like everybody uses recipe blogs, right? When you're cooking, you go to the blog and you have to read like this long story of like why the recipe is important so that they can get the views and their ads and stuff. And then you finally get to the ingredients. Well, what if we could just extract the ingredients, take them out into the real world with us while we're cooking, and then we can move them around just with our hands, right? So this is what I played with. This is live right now on my website. So if you have a device that supports pass-through, you could try it and see if you can bake this cake. And I would love to hear if it works for you.
That's
So yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
That kind of thing is it's like the best use case for AR glasses, you know.
I
Or
think so.
I mean, honestly, like yeah, because I mean that's like lightweight scenario. You can touch your phone, but like the recipe is right there. And with what you've added with hand tracking, I mean, that makes it even cooler. You could sort of like hang up the recipe while
Right.
you're
And,
cooking.
yeah, and get your hands messy and don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Don't worry
so
about it.
awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, but a lot of work has to go into that to make it usable, right? Like we still have a lot of ways to go there on that. So for moving into VR, so this is when we're fully immersed into the experience. And this is a recent one called Above Paradowski. It's just a putting game. But what is really striking to me about this is a lot of this technology hasn't been around that long. And now we're getting experiences like this that sort of look like a native app. So the quality of these experiences are getting higher. It's still not gonna blow you away compared to like the graphics of like an Unreal, the nanites and high poly. But I think what we're moving towards is things that are very playable and usable. And they did a really great job with this. Here's another example of a fully immersed VR experience that's just all web. It's just all on a web page called Project Flowerbed. And this is an experiment from Meta. They did like a meditative gardening sort of app where you can like plant things and, just sort of a sandbox. But they made all the code available, open source and available for you to check out and use there. So it's a good reference.
That link, FYI, is in the World Builder document, actually, this project. And I tried it out and I had it running on a little Raspberry Pi.
Oh,
it's
cool.
very cool.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, check it out, follow the directions. You could totally, you could be in world and sort of play around with it.
Awesome. That's great that you got it running on a Raspberry Pi. Yeah. That's also, I think, a testament to why we should focus on or take a look at WebXR for a lot of things, because you don't necessarily need a $3,000 PC to run these experiences.
With an expensive graphic card that stutters.
or a super pricey graphics card. So here's the last term that we use under the umbrella of XR is mixed reality. And this is now it's similar to AR, but now you're seeing things like, see how that little, in the video, it bounces off the coffee table there. So now we have an idea of where objects in the room are, and the virtual things can interact with the real life things. And this is something that just came out this past year, at the end of the year. And it's still very bleeding edge and experimental. Not a lot of it's not standardized, but just like these concepts of like, we could have virtual things interacting with the real world. And we can have things that know where they are supposed to be in the real world, like spatially anchored to the real world. And then just thinking about all the possibilities there as well. Okay. Now then, so we have all this immersive web tech. Why should we care about it? The first big thing for me is that we have the freedom to publish these directly to the web. So we don't have an app store controlling what goes on and what doesn't go on. And we have just kind of the freedom to just like decide, like, I want this to be distributed. There's cost to that too. Like maybe we don't have the audience and the convenience factor there of app stores, but just that we have that ability. We don't need to rely on a big company or something to get our content published. The second big thing is accessibility. So when we make an app, we have to support all of these different platforms that we want to support, right? But with by doing things in the browser, we have already access to a lot of different platforms and different kinds of devices right out of the box. And it gives us sort of a different creative medium to explore. So you can have an experience where we have the experience on the phone or on your watch or something. It could be a watch, is different from the experience on your phone, and it's different on your desktop, and it's different in a VR headset, but they can all interact together. So I think this in itself is sort of a new, just presents a lot of new and interesting design opportunities. And the picture you see here, this is a webcam capturing hand tracking inside of a browser. So yeah, just kind of another fun experiment, that recent experiment. All right. Any questions so far? How are we feeling about immersive web? Anything about that? Or we're good to move on to hubs? All right, I gotta keep chat. Mix seems the most interesting. Ah, yes. Yeah. I think Mix has so much potential. And it's so bleeding edge right now that, I'm not sure where everything's going to land in terms of standards. Immersive reality, yeah, and the idea of being the idea that we can go to a new place and see a new perspective on things just from a website is pretty interesting to me too. Yes, Vincent, that's so true. I just had a baby too. Vincent said the cons are you're not aware of your surrounding. And I just had a baby, and now I find that I am never in VR anymore because I want that awareness. Very good. So Mozilla Hubs is just one application of the immersive web that we have today, and it's for social 3D spaces where you meet up in your browser. So it has all the benefits, of being an immersive web app. And another, as a cherry on top, it's also open source, so you can pull from the code. You can use the code under Mozilla Public License, which basically means you can do anything as long as when you change something, you have to also make that code available yourself to others. And then it's cross-platform naturally. So Linux, if you're on Linux, if you're running Windows, Mac, or even an Xbox, if it has a browser, you can run Mozilla Hubs. And here's what it looks like. The bottom one is, is a photogrammetry scene with a VR headset. And then there's the top on desktop, and then there's mobile. Right, but you all have been playing in Hubs, so you've probably already seen all this already. And then I have a demo. We probably don't need to jump into the demo, right? Y'all feeling comfortable in Hubs already? But I did throw a demo right into our right into our slides. And the cool thing about this too, I don't know if you all know, you can take a room and just iframe it directly into a website. So we're still in my presentation, but because my presentation lives on the web, now we have a room in my presentation. So if we went into the room, I could be in this room right here. And you can see here, I don't have post-processing on, so it doesn't look as shiny, the sun there. But if we go back, I go over here. But I just found those tools. That's really cool. But yeah, if we go back here, you can see that this is what it looks like with post-processing on. So that's a preference you have to set to get this these nice bloom effects. All right, so let's jump right into how people are using Hubs today. And hopefully, since you've all started building in Hubs already, I hope this will be pretty impressive, because you know how difficult it can be to build things. So the first use case I wanted to show you all is medical training. So NYU Langdon which is right in your neck of the woods here. They have been using Hubs for years to help train their medical students. So they could like take them through the heart, take them through the digestive tract, etc. And you can see their students all in VR here. They actually don't leverage the social part of it so much, but they use it more as single player experiences. And they have a whole like orientation room that they built because a lot of students aren't comfortable in VR. And I think that's a really good idea that they take time to really teach them how to use the tool. And you can see one example is they made a connect the dots like activity in the room where the students have to take the pen and connect the dots. And I thought that was a really clever way to teach the pen tool, which is just one of the features of Hubs where you can draw in the room. And this slide has links to more background about the orientation room, and then also a live stream with Greg Dornsville, who is the technologist that put together a lot of this work. So this is, they're well-funded and they're really intentionally using Hubs in a way to help train the future doctors. And I think they're surgeons, or I'm actually not sure what they're working to become, but the future doctors of the United States here. Also conferences is something we've seen used a lot. And this was the Vattenwilton Architecture and Media Conference. And they had about 700 people come through. There's a link here to more information about how they pulled this off. The really cool thing about this to me was it was self-hosted. So that means they took the code, they had their own servers, and they made some modifications to Hubs to make it work for them. And then they ran the conference that way. Very cool. More information in the spotlight there. Remote classrooms. Okay, so you all have been in a classroom before, and I'm sure you've done a lot of remote classroom stuff after the past couple of years. So Professor Gary, I think, is a great example of someone who's very intentionally designed for remote classrooms. And he recently, like just last Friday, we published an interview with him, and he goes through how like some of the special features that he built and some of the results. He was able to boost his students' engagement, boost attendance. I think for University of Nottingham, his class is like a record remote attendance compared to the other classes. So students seem to enjoy, coming into his class and being in Hubs. And he also did a bunch of things that were interesting related to his course, which at times they have to design for. It's a human factors course. And at times they have to design for specific environments. And one thing that he did was he created like a wheelchair avatar so that students could see the world from the perspective of somebody sitting in a wheelchair. So these kinds of things is where he's really leveraging VR very intentionally, because now they're in headset. They're like considering what it's like as they design like future cars and future transportation systems. They're considering what it's like to see the world from a different perspective. So yeah, I thought that was I think this is like just a really great case of how to use Hubs, but and Professor Gary has done a really bang up job with just working with it for the past 3 years. University spaces, so more. This is a Cheonam University in Korea, and they've used Hubs, so they have like a campus map where prospective students can come and check things out, and then jump into these social spaces. Brand experiences, right? We've seen a lot of these over the past couple of years. Hello Kitty, Major League Baseball, and these are sort of like one-off novelty sort of promotional events. Here's another one. I don't know if anyone knows Black Clover, the anime. If you're a Black Clover fan, you might appreciate this one. This is more of an advertisement for another event that was happening in VR chat, but they chose to advertise it here on the web just for accessibility. And finally, this is not something where VR was used because it's for kids. And generally, we want to avoid kids in VR. I think the official recommendation is 12 years. 12 years and younger shouldn't be in headset. But this one is like teaching kids about road safety. And it's available to I think 1 million Irish elementary school kids. So it's yeah, Solar Flow Studios built this sort of they were looking at, oh, these kids are all into Roblox and Minecraft, and they wanted a accessible, like sort of game-like environment for them to teach them this stuff. So yeah, those are kind of the use cases. Any questions about Black Clover had an event in Mozilla Hubs? Yeah, so it was so Vincent, you know Black Clover. That's awesome. Yeah, it was a design agency called Gugunka. They're based in Japan, and they do a lot of, if you're an anime fan, they're a great company to follow because they do a lot of direct partnerships with these like big anime, and so it's fun for me because I also like anime, and it's always fun to see like they have these like different exhibitions and things that they built on their own custom hubs. Yeah, I love seeing whenever they have a new one. I always jump in and check it out because yeah, watch a lot of anime.
That's interesting that there's an official recommendation for headsets now. I'm glad that happened because for a little while it was just something that was never talked about and kind of still isn't. But I think that has to do with like brain and eyesight development, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's pretty like it's not really fully understood what effects it has in developing. Yeah, so it probably is a good idea for kids not to be headsets on. Yeah,
I mean, well, it's not really that funny depending on the number of people who adopt headsets, but I was just saying like, oh yeah, in the future we'll all just be cross-eyed, like that'll be like a next level sort of like change in human development or something. Yeah, but it does yeah. Oh, you can wear generally you can wear glasses while you're wearing a headset. And you can also order special corrective lenses depending on the headset, but you can wear them. It sometimes like pinches your nose. It's not the most comfortable thing, but like the headsets are not the most comfortable things either. So, but you could definitely, I generally have glasses on, so I have a lot of experience with that, but yeah, just jump in and answer that question.
Yeah. And search big screen VR headset. If you search that, they recently released some new hardware, and what they do is they scan your face, and they'll actually like it's molded like for you individually, and that's probably the best route for comfort. But then of course you can't like share it with your friend. It's now your headset. Yeah, and they'll also do like corrective the IPD adjustments and things for you there too. So yeah, that's probably getting it like custom built for yourself is the best route right now, I think. But I think those headsets are also like what, $1,100 or something.
Right.
And
yeah.
you still need a PC to plug into it, and then you need the base station to track your body, your movement, and yeah, all this. So yeah, it's very expensive and not super accessible right now. Yeah, so many, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. I know Apple is we're gonna hear about their headsets soon, so that's exciting. It'll be very expensive too, but we start expensive and see if people want it, and then that's how we can get more accessible headsets, I think. So it's all good for the development of XR.
Has everyone here used a VR headset?
Oh yeah, good question.
Out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Vincent, no. Ulysses, yes. Janardhan says yes. Have you don't have a headset, have tried it before? Have you used a headset with controllers? Is the next question. Have you used both 3DOF and 6DOF experiences? Have you used the controllers to move around? Or yes. Interesting, Vincent, Janardhan. How about you, Ulysses? Did you answer already? That's cool. Yeah, I was just curious. Yeah, I mean, it's a whole, have you been in VR experiences where you used a headset and also the controllers? Like, have you moved through the space with the controllers? Okay, yeah. No, I'm just curious because sometimes people will have, I mean, sometimes their headset experience goes back to like cardboard, you know what I mean? And they may not have moved through spaces. So I was just curious about that. Interesting. Yeah, the headsets, it's a whole other conversation about like hardware and where we are with hardware and what the future of hardware is. But I'll just make a comment and you guys chime in and tell me what you think. And this is just me sort of speaking on the subject, but I received from Santa Claus these Nreal Air glasses that do not have any tracking, right? They're basically just like an extra monitor that you can stick on your face. And what's interesting about them, I was really kind of pleasantly surprised. At first I was just like, well, this is not something I would buy for myself, but like, how can I use it? You know what I mean? So I automatically like created a little avatar that I could control with my mouse or with my phone. You use your phone as the controller, right? So I made a little character, you hit the button and just through the Unity game engine, right? Just to play around. No hand tracking. I have to say though, I probably would see myself using those smart glasses more than I would like for day-to-day activities, because you can wear them while you're cooking and watch a documentary or watch cooking shows. I could see myself wearing them. You can hook them to a Raspberry Pi and have that be your monitor. I would see myself wearing them like on a bus or at the airport because there's no pass-through, because you don't need it, because like you can still see kind of the world around you, but no one can see what you're watching. So there's this interesting, like in the world, you know, in your device at the same time kind of scenario that makes it in a way like way more practical than any of the sort of, well, so far than a lot of the sort of hand tracking and like VR headsets with pass through are for me. But it was just an interesting sort of thing to think about, you know what I mean? And even like the lack of scanning, lack of being able to like scan the space wasn't really an issue either for the little demo that I made, because like the little character was just like took up this infinite space that is, you know, part of the game engine. And I really wasn't bothered that he was like going past where the walls would be, if that makes sense, you know? I don't know. It's just very interesting. Exciting times. But what's cool is that all of this WebXR, well, all of the WebXR and Web AR, all these possibilities are available like in a headset or on a device. So like it doesn't really even matter. I love that it's platform agnostic or hardware agnostic. Really, really cool.
Does the Nreal support WebXR?
So my favorite use case as I've played around with it so far is just using like what's it called, the Samsung DevX XDev, what is it called? Anyway, you're basically using the browser on your phone. So you're just using your smartphone. Yeah, one of the first things I do is like go check out some Mozilla Hubs spaces to see what that was like, and you know, if the experience was the same as just like utilizing your phone to navigate. It is a bit tricky because you have to sort of decide yeah, like how are you gonna, what controls you're gonna utilize to get through the space. I don't know, so I have to sort of figure out like best practices for all of that, and eventually I will. It's been very helpful doing events because I could have, if I want, a third monitor. Like, so you could have like hubs playing up here, and then, you know, the other sort of windows for other things. That's been interesting too, but that's you know, just the extra screen attached to your face. It's been really it was really interesting. Yeah, I'll let you know if I discover like anything like, you know, cool.
Yeah, please do. I just learned about the Unreal recently, those glasses. So yeah, I'd love to know more about if like the browser support and how that works.
There's a bit of controversy with the name, right? I think there was a lawsuit. Unreal and Unreal are just a bit too close for comfort for Epic.
Makes sense.
But yeah, but it's a solid product. You have to really look at like the phone that you have. It's not really it's not really compatible with every phone version, so that's a problem. And then I immediately got all extra cords so that I could like utilize the device and also charge the battery on my phone, like just in case, I don't know, I need to do that. Like, so I had to figure out that setup. So it's a little bit clunky, but still light all in all, you know what I mean? Pretty amazing that it's even possible. We've come a long way in like, what, 5 years?
Oh yeah.
So does anybody have I'm sure you guys do you have any questions? Or Ying, I think I saw you come in. Do you have any questions for Matt?
No, not. Hi, Matt. Thank you. Thank you for joining. I got a conflict with another event. I'm just peeking
Yeah,
in.
no worries. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's fascinating what you guys are doing, and I know nothing about any of these until Yvonne introduced this hubs to us, and yeah, it's been very fascinating. Yeah,
Excellent.
love to learn more.
Yeah, I see folks in the Discord posting some Spoke projects. So I don't know if I should go through some of this, but I could walk you all through a quick gallery and give you a few tips.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be
Great.
is that something we can do real quick? And so it won't take very long, and we could all kind of go together with it.
Perfect.
Yeah, does that sound all right? Okay, great.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so I know a lot of you already kind of maybe got some experience with this. So yeah, please do stop me if it's too basic or but the first thing I kind of want to is like just creating a new project and then being able to like move it within the viewport and just move within the space. So you could scroll to zoom in and out. I just want to point that out. And then also I like to hold right click and use the WASD keys on desktop to move around the space. And you can see that I'm doing that here. I'm just holding right click in the viewport and then moving around. And I think there's like a couple of tricky things, but I could show you how I made, this is a gallery I just threw together in 10 minutes with just some photos I had on my desktop of our new baby. So
Awesome.
I could show that really quick if we'll roll into here. Everyone can still see my projects. Great. So yeah, you'll see like these are all my projects on one of my accounts here, and you'll see there's in some of them you'll see this little GLB, and what that means is I've used Blender to make these projects. But then if you scroll down a little further, you could see that we have these are Spoke projects, so they won't have that GLB next to them, and that's sort of how you could tell the difference when you make a new project. There's this import from Blender, and we won't be going into Blender right now, but Blender is kind of the best way to build scenes these days. But Spoke is still a useful tool for getting into 3D. So what I did was I just started up a new project with that gallery template, and I just kind of zoomed in. So something I want to show you, make sure everybody knows this trick. If we go to the assets, and let's say I want, here's a nice screenshot of a My Little Pony room. You could just drag that directly into the URL of a pre-existing image. And you see how that just changed for us there. And I could do the same.
Okay, I did not know that. Now
Yeah, it's a
just
really handy
right click. It's like right click and copy pasting. So very cool, very
Yep.
cool. I love learning new stuff.
Yeah, and you can do, so I can just, so I have these assets like preloaded. I just, and you can just drag any picture you have. Here's one. You can just drag that into the desktop or into the assets here. And then once it's in your assets, then yeah, then it's just a matter of like dragging it over.
Mm.
Yeah, and you have that. So yeah, and so if you don't want to actually mess with, you know, you could just use the pre-existing stuff that we have in there. You can delete things too if you don't want something, you know, and do things that way. Here's another picture. And then another thing I like to use here when we're scaling things, objects in the room, I just like to drag. I don't know if that's easy to see, but you can just click on the X, Y, or Z, and your cursor will change into these two little arrows. And if I just click there and then you drag left and right, you can easily scale things that way.
Mm.
Right now, everything is scaling together because it's locked. So if I wanted to scale, if I wanted to remove that uniform scale, I can just click the little icon there and then go ahead and non-uniform scale on different axes.
Yeah,
So
hopefully
yeah, these are kind of my, these are like my go-to moves in Spoke.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that one I use. Yeah, hopefully that's a review, but it's always good to hear no matter.
Yeah. And because I find sometimes, you know, like the gizmos here in the viewport, sometimes they kind of bug out a little bit, and you'll have things like flying away really, and it's like, oh no. And if they do
that's
fly
the
away,
best.
yeah, if they do fly away, you can always just undo. So just like you're, you know, in a word processing or, you know, something, you can just undo and then it'll go back. So you're like, oh yeah, there we go. So I got it to fly away, but then I just undo and it'll come back for me. So you always have the undo button if you get stuck. And one thing you'll notice about this, Christian, because the artist on the team that built this template, he wanted it to be so that you could kind of customize. Say you wanted to add, you can see Hall East. So if we wanted to add another wing to our gallery, all we do is we just enable it. So right now it's disabled in the hierarchy. So you can see Hall East is disabled, but if we enable it, hey, we have a new wing. And then you'll notice immediately that there's a problem though. Right? So we have this wall here. So if we select just that portion and we disable that, and then we select the other wall and disable that, now we can go into our new wing, right? So there's a lot you could do here with just disabling and enabling things. So you don't need to necessarily delete things, but you can kind of play with that. And you can see there's all kinds of things. Like we have the sample exhibits that are all in their own group as well. So if you wanted to disable all the sample exhibits, you can do that as well. Just boom, zap them all, right? Or you can, you know, disable selected ones and things like that. And you can see Christian has even gone through the trouble to show us all of the various configurations that might be cool ways to lay out your own gallery. So yeah, did a really great job with this, and we've just gotten so much value. I mean, I can't even tell you how many galleries there's been in Hubs. This is such a popular use case, you know, for people just wanting to create a simple space and show off some photographs they took, or just anything like that in an interesting way.
And just to be clear, when you disable something, it won't export. That's correct. So it's not going to count toward your polygon and vertices count, so you're not going to get that. Yeah, it'll still be lighter.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it's great that we're thinking about that. So for these images, what I recommend you do is to use some kind of compression, some tool. You don't want to have them be too big, right? So sometimes people will put really big images like 4K image, and that's going to give you some performance problems. So you can get nice crisp images. There's a tool called Squoosh app that's kind of nice. And if you just take an image, drop it in, it will make it a lot smaller for you size wise. This doesn't do anything to the like the video RAM, but it does make the loading of your scene faster. Right. And then from there, you just want to make sure too that it's not too big. So like this one is 482 by 546. That's fine. But if you start to get things that are like 2000 something, you want to resize those down. All right, and let's go back to our gallery. Right, and you can do videos. I think you all figured this out already, but you could also bring in videos and objects and things into the room as well. So not just limited to photos and sounds.
Yeah, that's key. So I'm adding these links from the presentation to the Discord server in the resources channel, just FYI.
Beautiful. And let me, all right. Yeah, and I also have a couple extra resources too. Yvonne published that doc is really great. She has a ton of great links in there for you. But the also the Hubs Discord, welcome you all to join there. We have office hours there where I'm just available if you want to stop in, you have questions, you want to show me what you're working on. I'd love to see it. Need any help, you're welcome to come in there. And it's honestly like some of the best, like our artists are so awesome. And I feel like it's such a great, if you really want to learn, they will teach you. And it's just such a great resource. So we have art channels, specific art channels. You can come in and ask questions and you'll get some of the top artists like Jim's worked on, big games like Tomb Raider, and he came from like gaming, PlayStation, all that. And Christian too has a really solid art background and is just one of the best world builders, for the web, probably in the world. They've just been innovating and doing incredible things in web pages. And then we also have the community meetups where we welcome questions and we'll sometimes do tours of like other spaces and things like that. And then we have tutorials on Creator Labs, which is our community blog. So yeah, if you want to just follow a tutorial as a starting point, that's also a good way to do it.
The community is fantastic. I mean, I know I can personally attest to that. I've been helped out so many times. Yeah, some really lovely people. And if you have things to test, you can just sort of sign up for testing, and yeah, people will show up and help you break things. And yeah, it's really great.
Yeah, if you ever need feedback, it's a great community to get feedback from, for sure.
Very cool.
Very knowledgeable. So yeah, if you like bring them a problem and you say, I want to do this, that's the best way to do it. Just tell them what you'd like to accomplish and they'll figure it out. They'll have an idea and you could try their suggestion. Yeah,
maybe how to make water. Yeah, probably.
So yeah, water, that's a great question. So we do have an element here.
There's a simple water tool that's pretty great.
So yeah, if we wanted to flood our gallery, and we could, and I'm going to turn off clipping. Yeah, and we'll just make it a kind of a pool here, and then you can manipulate this how you would, any other object. And they have there's like a bunch of things you can play with, like the scale of the tide. We want like big waves. We want like how tall do we want the waves to be? Yeah, like, and the speed. So you can mess with all this stuff, the color, like say we want purple water, you know. So this is like a quick way to do it. You know, does it look the best? You know, it's maybe passable water. So they're using a special shader to get this done. But there are other techniques you could try for water. So that's a great question for the art channel. There's something called UV scroll, where we can scroll along the textures. And if you want to get fancy with that, you can make your own water. But this is kind of like the quick and dirty way.
Yeah, that looks like the Monet water lilies VR piece. It's awesome.
Yep.
Okay, I got to go, but thank you so much. I have to go to another meeting.
Thanks, Ian. Great to see you and meet you.
Yeah, hope to see you in the Hub Discord or something.
Yes,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Thank you so much. It's very, very informational. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Cool. And then the slide too, I have a bunch of extra things. This is something that we're working on. We get a lot of requests for interaction in Hubs.
Oh, cool. That's cool.
Yeah. So this is something Jim put together in the afternoon. Again, this is like working in a web page. You know, we still have a long way to go with this. It's very experimental, but this was all built in Blender. So there was no code. It's all using nodes like that look like this.
Amazing. That is so exciting.
So yeah, pretty exciting stuff. Here's another one with a vending machine. So you can think of, I mean, there's so many things we can do with this. When you start thinking about different like interactions, and I got it. And physics and things. And again, this is like completely like you build it in Blender and then it's published to the web and shareable. So there's no, not a ton of friction there. Yep. Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know if the physics collided with the mirror. Let's see. But yeah, so there's still a lot to work out. Yeah. Or with the glass, you know.
That's amazing. And also, are there moving waypoints yet? Was that something that was incorporated? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so with this stuff, you can basically like dictate teleportation and things like that. Probably with the new ECS stuff coming out, it'll be easier to make like movable waypoint, like you're on a platform and you like move over to another platform. You can do some of that with this, but I don't know if like everything's possible with a with your avatar location with this. I don't know if like all that's exposed, but with a new system, I think it'll be easier to do.
That's wild. This is so exciting. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, I think like it just makes the just the what you could put on a web page and just from all like a free download, just free software, and you can get something like this out. I think it's pretty would be pretty nice. So hopefully we get there.
Yeah, I mean, well, the interactivity is other level, you know, and that's always sort of the next thing. It's like humans are easily bored. We gotta like give them something to do, so that they stay in the space. And yeah, it's just exciting to see. It's very, very cool.
And then this is just a fun making a 3D cube. All that code you just saw was just to make that. So it's just a reminder that when you go down to the lower levels of things, there's a lot going on. And we rely on these higher level libraries to build all this stuff. But if you go deeper and you want to learn like WebGL, like the underlying technology for all this, that's what it takes just to make a cube. rotate. So we could all just appreciate these great libraries that we have today, that we don't have to do all this work.
That's right. And a reminder, the sort of historical links about this stuff are on the World Builder document. So take a look at that. It's in sort of the beginning. There's a whole little section on 3JS and A-Frame and WebGL. So there are links. It's not a lot of reading, but there are links to more reading and some examples. So I would check that out because it is cool. I mean, it's a lot of code, but also I would think about it this way. You can also, like, you can build things in those little spaces, like sort of like as little testers, like you can do that now. It's so awesome. And you know what Mozilla Hubs has done is basically plug in interactivity and improved the platform and added whole other features. And now they've sort of rebuilt everything to incorporate this interactivity. And yeah, we're lucky to be able to use it.
Indeed. So we are standing on the shoulders of giants. So yeah, any Creator Lab tutorials, is it shown? Not for the, for the Ulysses, you mean for the interactive stuff? Not yet. It's so new. For the cube. Oh, wow. Yeah, for the WebGL. Right. Yeah, you can get into WebGL. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff online. You'll find documentation around how to build that, but we don't cover that in Creator Labs. Creator Labs were more focused on the higher level, like Hubs building stuff. But yeah, if you want to get down into like how things are actually made, that's you can search this and then have fun.
Yeah, and check out some of the links on that World Builder doc that you should have. If you need a link to that, let me know. It's a good starting point. All right, Jonathan. Sure. Yeah. I'll post it. I'll post it unlisted in YouTube and stick it in the Discord.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
You bet. Yeah. Nice to see you. Excellent. Well, thank you for that amazing presentation. That was awesome. I really enjoyed it. I know we all did. There's a lot to learn. And yeah, it really was awesome, right?
Yeah, thanks for having me. And nice to meet everybody. And I'll be around Discord. So please let me know, if you have any questions. We have office hours there. It'd be great to chat and happy to help wherever I can.